Hey everyone, so this video is the last video in terms of how to edit in an artist style of work. I'm going to show you how to darken the background. I've chosen another photo, another experiment, because I felt like the first edit that I've done to darken the background, the composition wouldn't be as good or as effective as this, because when you darken the background, you want to have a very isolated background where it just has the main focal point of the subject. Whereas the picture I was editing before, when I was trying to darken the background, the hands that were on the side and the hands from the bottom felt a little bit distracting, and that didn't quite add the kind of impact that I wanted when I darkened the background. So that's the reason why I've done it like this. Same goes for you guys. Just always think about, reflect on your work and think about, could I have done this better and improve the overall composition when I'm darkening the background, and all those kind of things that you would usually think when editing. So you're going to do something like this. So this video is showing you how to darken your background. So I'm going to take you back to where we last left off. So essentially this is just a simple double exposure picture. I've done two pictures, one with him facing the camera and the second one which is when he's covering his face with his hands. So I'm going to start from this point. Right, so when you're editing, there are several ways to do this, but I'm going to show you the most simple way first. The easiest way I would first do is go to lens blur. Now it's the second last row where it says lens blur, and you also got the vignette icon there next to each other. So those are the two main tools you're going to be using in this lesson. So first click on lens blur. And basically lens blur adds depth of field, so it makes the background slightly blurred, and it also adds some vignette, and it just makes it just create a smoky background, which I quite like. So sometimes people just go straight onto vignette and make the background. Some people actually add a black background picture and double expose it and use layer mask to remove that, but I'll show you the first way of doing this first. Okay, so here you've got your blur options, and you can see you can create the strength of making the background really blurred out, and you can even make the circle oval shape or whichever shape you want. You can really adjust it to be something like this when you click on the bottom button. You can even choose different options, but circle one is fine for me for now. And I'm just going to, when you hold down and you scroll down, you can even change the transition. So the transition is the outer circle, and it just shows how sharp or how blurred, how strong you want it overall, that you want in terms of your edit. And then the next bit, I'm going to scroll down to the next bit, which is the vignette strength, and I'm going to take it all the way down to 100%. Okay, and you can even make this circle smaller if you like. It's really up to you guys how you feel your photo will look best in. Once you're happy with that, click on the tick button. Now that's already added sort of a more smokier kind of background. So now I'll go back to tools and click on the vignette tool. Now with the vignette tool, you're then going to adjust this all the way to the bottom. Okay, the outer brightness is basically the outside area becomes a lot darker, and you can see you're moving a circle around. It's only outside of the circle that becomes that much darker. Unfortunately, this can only change into a circular shape, so you're just going to have to work with what you've got, and you can really play with the contrast and shadows here, which I find it very fun to work along with. Okay, and as you're moving around, just find the perfect position. And you can even change the inner brightness. The inner brightness means inside of the circle becomes brighter, or you can have it darker like this to show more shadows and effect. And I quite like how this sort of happy accident has created this really interesting shadow effect of his face. And I can even make this circle bigger if I wanted to. So yeah, so that's how you make the background darker like this. Okay, so essentially you go onto tools, use lens blur first and the vignette tool, and adjust accordingly. That's one way of doing it. Okay, so the second way to do it, I'm just going to go back to view edits, and I'm going to show you another way of doing this. I go back to black and white, is the layer mask tool that I was explaining earlier on. So go to double exposure, and what you need to do prior to that is save a black and white image when you search online, and you usually just sort of click an image like so. Let's see if it shows up. There isn't really much of a option here for some reason, but yeah, you click onto an image and you hold down, and then it will have lots of options where save a copy to your photos, and that's where it gets saved onto. So once that's done, then you go back to your Snapseed app, add it in like this, and at the moment it's sort of become because the opacity is not 100%, so it's not fully covered. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it all the way up to 100% like this, go back to view edits, and then do the same thing what I taught you earlier on, the paintbrush tool, and you're just going to do a layer mask. So get the eye icon in, and you just start drawing it in. If you don't want it, because the contrast between the two is quite strong anyway, and you can just paint it in accordingly like this, and that will create a very strong dark background like so. And that's one way of achieving this kind of look, and it can be very strong, the overall contrast. So that's one way of doing it. You can even adjust the overall opacity. You can have it at 75%. Sorry, must have been a little mistake there. So you can even change it like this slightly, and going from the outward motion. And you can have it back at 75% just to see where that will go and take you to. And those who do art, you might understand what I mean. Like, it's sort of like playing with a paintbrush when you're changing the opacity a little bit, because you're trying to blend in with the overall look. And then you just take this back down to 25, and you just sort of paint it in areas you don't want to have, and just start to increase the overall look. So you can have something like this as well as one way of doing it. So those are two ways of achieving that kind of look.